So Jim Acosta has a real problem with the president, saying this is a humanitarian crisis. Oh my gosh, he was out yesterday in the blazing sun. He was down at the border where there is a border fence, a border wall, one of those big iron slatted iron walls where, the ones where they're like, look, you could just cut right through this. Well, there hasn't been anybody who's cut through one of them, unless you were there with a blowtorch and you were doing an example on TV. But Jim Acosta was there, and it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and he's walking around in his sunglasses by this wall and says, look, I see the fence here, and there isn't any humanitarian crisis. There isn't any problem. In fact, here's the audio. Listen to this arrogant fool.
And here are some of the steel slats that the president's been talking about right here. As you can see, yes, you can see through these slats to the other side of the U.S.-Mexico border. But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. There are no migrants trying to rush toward this fence here in the McAllen, Texas area. As a matter of fact, there are some other businesses behind me along this highway. There's a gas station, Burger King, and so on. But no sign of the national emergency that the president has been talking about. As a matter of fact, it's pretty tranquil down here.
Yeah, It's pretty tranquil. Where were you, Jim? In McAllen, Texas, when I was in McAllen, Texas, because there was a humanitarian crisis. In fact, could we play the audio, please, the montage between President Obama and President Trump on the humanitarian crisis at the border?
We now have an actual humanitarian crisis on the border that only underscores the need to drop the politics and fix our immigration system once and for all.
This is a humanitarian crisis, a crisis of the heart and a crisis of the soul.
In recent weeks, we've seen a surge of unaccompanied children arrive at the border, brought here and to other countries by smugglers and traffickers. The journey is unbelievably dangerous for these kids.
Child smugglers exploit the loopholes, and they gain illegal entry into the United States, putting countless children in danger on the perilous trek to the United States. They come up through Mexico.
Protecting public safety and deporting dangerous criminals has been and will remain the top priority.
We will begin removing the more than 2 million criminal illegal immigrants from the country.
But we are going to refocus our efforts where we can to make sure we do what it takes to keep our border secure.
We want to secure our border.
Thank you, Mike Broomhead, who happens to live in a border state, Arizona, and our affiliate in Phoenix, for putting that montage together. It wasn't real difficult because both of them have been talking about humanitarian crisis, and everybody in America knows it, except for the, quote, journalists like Jim Acosta, who was, again, down at the border. And if you look at when border crosses happen, they usually happen around lunchtime, right there by the Burger King and the giant wall. Either that or they happen in the middle of the night under the cover of darkness. Now, Jim Acosta is going to be on a couple of other assignments this week, so because there's some other real tragedies that are going on, some other things that he has uncovered. For instance, people say, Broadway is doing well. Hey, theater, this is a great time for the theater in New York. Well, Jim Acosta will be down on Broadway on Monday night to show you not a single theater is open. Not a play is happening on Broadway on Monday night. Then on Tuesday, he's going to be around 11 o'clock going around the country at some of our biggest churches. And he will, 11 o'clock Tuesday morning, don't miss the Jim Acosta expose on how most of American churches are empty. The fact that Americans attend weekly service is a lie. And Jim Acosta will be exposing that. Oh my gosh, this guy is so crazy.
He is the worst, man. It's all about Jim Acosta. None of this means anything. Yes, he hates the president, but that is secondary to his love for himself.
Yeah.
And that is what is so disturbing about Jim Acosta. I mean, again, you're making the point, right? if there's a wall there, if there were people rushing to the border in the middle of the day, which that's not when they do it typically, but if that's when they were doing it, they would pick a different spot to do it. They wouldn't do it right there because of the wall you're standing next to.
Well, look, I think, Jim, your station may have had some footage at some point, or you may have seen it on another network, where they were charging the border in the middle of the day at a fence, but that was in San Diego. That's where the humanitarian crisis is happening that we've been talking about for the last few months. You happen to be in the place where the humanitarian crisis was happening under Obama. That's why I was there. That's why I called CNN and said, hey, do you know that they're putting kids in cages? But you weren't there. You were probably at the zoo doing the expose. Glenn Beck says they're putting children in cages. Well, I'm here at the San Diego Zoo, and I don't see any children in these cages. Come on.
He is just the worst.